Welcome to the Swim Swam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining me today, she is fresh off of 2 medals at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, including gold and a world record, the women's 4x100 freestyle relay. Today, we are sitting down with Bronte Campbell. Bronte, how's it going?
Hello, Coleman. How are you doing?
Pretty good. No complaints here. Just it's a rainy day in Austin. How are you doing? You're almost done with quarantine.
I am. So 2 weeks of quarantine off the back of Tokyo. We were up in Howard Springs, which is up near Darwin. So today is my last full day, and then I get out tomorrow, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, I've talked to a few Australians about this very unique experience of the high of an Olympic Games right into 2 weeks of being alone with your thoughts. What have you made of it? Being at the tail end of it, what have you thought of that extreme change of scenery?
Yeah, it is really extreme. We always talk about Olympic whiplash, which is when you come home and everything's like back at normal and it feels very weird. Like, did the Olympics just happen? And this is like a way more extreme version of that, where you've gone from the Olympics to just being shut in a room for 2 weeks. So it is pretty odd, but it's a good, you can make of it what you will, right? Like, we all have to be here, so just trying to make it the best I can. Try to get through all my uni work and fill up the days with things, and just have a chance to reflect before you get back into normal life, I guess. Not that when I go back it'll be normal, because everything will be in lockdown where I live anyway, but before you have to go back and talk to people about it, that's pretty big. Normally you get back from the Olympics and everyone wants to talk to you about it, all your friends and family, and sometimes you're not quite ready to speak about it yet. Like, it's quite fresh. So in that sense, it's actually not so bad that you've got a bit of time and a bit of distance between whatever has happened before you have to do those face-to-face things. And realistically, with a lot of the country in lockdown, you're not going to do those same bits where you have to go to big social gatherings or big events and things like that, which is when it gets really tiresome, because strangers are asking about your innermost thoughts and feelings constantly, which does get a bit exhausting. But yeah, it's I'm very happy for it to be over. I cannot wait to be underwater somewhere. There's obviously no way to swim when you're in quarantine, and I just miss the feeling of swimming somewhere. I swim every day at the beach normally, at least, even if I'm not training, or when I am training. So looking forward to it a lot.
So speaking of strangers asking about your innermost thoughts and feelings, what do you feel like you gained from those 2 weeks, just in terms of processing that Olympic experience? I mean, do you feel ready to talk about it? And if not, we don't have to.
Oh, that's so nice. No, I agreed to talk to you about it. No, I mean, for me, it wasn't anything big or negative to process. Like, I loved my experience over there. I was really happy with how I swam, and then happy with how the team went, and yeah, there's no big emotions for me to process. I was actually like, going into the games, it was very different for me this time. Not having an individual race, just having relays, which is, and not, I've actually never done that before. I've always had individual races, so it was very different. And for me, it was just about sitting back and doing my best for the relay team, but then also contributing to the team in other ways, because I didn't have such a big schedule. I could spend a lot more time with the team, trying to make the team gel a little bit more, and making sure I was putting my energy into the other people who were competing, and trying to hold them up and get them ready and keep them relaxed, and using the energy that I'd normally put into my races that way, which was really nice. And it was a really nice way to go through the games. And I mean, we had a fantastic meet as a team, which is always gets your spirits up when you see all your teammates getting to achieve their dreams. So yeah, even though I didn't have individual races, I felt like I still did a really fun and a really fulfilling meet.
That's cool. I mean, that's really cool. That was always my favorite part of a swim meet is being with the team and cheering for my teammates. Probably why I didn't make it very far in swimming, but
that's everyone's favorite part. It's gotta be. It's so good.
It's so good. However, going back to trials, were you pleased with your performances there, even though, as you said, you didn't have individual swims heading into Tokyo Games? Is that what you had expected heading into trials?
Yes, I was really happy with how I swam at trials. I swam 53.09, which came fifth at our trials, but in any other country would have been an individual swim. It's just insane, and it just speaks to the depth of 100 freestyle in Australia, and I feel really proud to have been a part of the group that's really built that for a long time. Me, Kate, and then Emma coming through as well into that group. Built that 100 freestyle is a very competitive event where you have to be, well, this time you have to be number 1 and 3 in the world in order to make the cut of being the top 2 in the country. So that's really spread into our relay, and you see that with our relay swim. I mean, not to brag, but our heat swimmers, so I was one of them. So that's number 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the country. The time we swam still would have won the Olympic finals, even without the top 2, which is it's pretty insane to be part of that group. And the downside of that is that you don't get an individual spot when even though you're swimming very fast. But I was really happy with it. And then in the final of the relay, I led off and went another 53.0. So it's a good indication of where I was at. It's been a very hard road with injuries to get here. So I was really happy with both those performances. I feel like they were right at where my potential was, which is always nice when you don't feel like you've left anything in the pool.
Seems nice. To give our listeners a little bit of context, as you said, the prelims time that Australia put up would have won the final by over a second. They ended up winning the final by over 3 seconds, setting a world record in the 400 free relay at 3:29.69. You mentioned the injuries. In the last year and a half since the COVID-19 pandemic started, did that give you time for those injuries to heal? Did that exacerbate the mental strain and fatigue that the injuries caused? How did you handle that within this last year, and then with the extra Olympic year?
Yeah, no, it was actually good for me. I was pretty sore at the start of 2020, very sore. So when the Olympics got postponed, I was initially very frustrated that I'd sort of dragged myself through a lot of pain and suffering. I was getting to a point where I was actually able to train again. But I did only have 4 months until the Olympics at that point. So I was very frustrated that I'd gone through all of that for nothing, because a little bit of rest would have been very helpful, but it wasn't an option at the time. Mm-hmm. So it possibly could have been a good thing. I don't know what would have happened in 4 months' time if I'd kept on training and 2020 had gone ahead as planned. But yeah, the initial postponement was very frustrating, and then I was like, all right, great. This is probably an opportunity for me to stop and reset and strip things back to bare minimum and sort of build everything back up again, which is what I did, just spending the time rehabbing everything, making everything move a little bit better, trying to change those movement patterns that you get into when you're in pain all the time, when you're trying to protect something. It's really hard to get out of those. So I really stripped everything back, and when I was doing gym, just focused on any movements that weren't causing pain, and any time I was causing pain, stopping that and restarting. And it's really frustrating and really slow. And I wouldn't have had the time to do that if we didn't have the postponement. So it was sort of like this gift that nobody really wanted, but once I had it, I was like, okay, this gift of time that I thought I only had 4 months to the Olympics, but now I've got 18 months, so I better use it. And I felt like I was able to do that. Obviously, the injuries are not going to go away. For me, it's all about managing them, and I got to a much more manageable state coming into this game. So yeah, in some ways, it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise. I think always Olympics, especially Olympics, more than world champs and Europeans and Pan-Pacs and all those other meets, is so much about timing. Like adding on an extra year, so Meg Harris come into the relay and Molly O'Callaghan for us. They're 17 and 19, and a year earlier they really weren't performing at that level, and they were probably just a little bit young. And then 1 year later, they're winning Olympic gold medals. So yeah, a year makes a really big difference sometimes, because Olympics is really, really all about timing. And for me, it was probably quite good timing.
Seems like it. It seems like all right timing. I mean, the rehab, that sounds insanely tedious. And as you said, a lot of work, a lot of stop and go. How were you able to make that work, especially with all the lockdown policies that were in place? And how long was it before you kind of felt like you were back to normal in a sense?
It took a really long time. I mean, the initial lockdown, we were probably 8 weeks where we didn't have access to anything, which was fine. We knew we had a long time to get back. But I had a rooftop in my apartment complex, which I use, and ordered in a chin-up bar to that. And you can do a lot with TheraBands and and a chin-up bar. Then they did actually open the beaches before they opened the pools, so I was able to get out and swim a lot, which was great. I mean, it was winter, so it was pretty cold, but it was brilliant to be able to get in the water. And it probably took, I mean, with the gym stuff and stripping out strength in order to rebuild it, that happened a bit later when I started working with a new gym coach who really took me through that, which was really good to have that one-on-one focus rather than just me trying to push myself as much or as little as I wanted. Having someone else put the brakes on when you need to is sometimes really, really useful, because the tendency is to go all out and to push as hard as you need to. So, I mean, rebuilding the gym realistically took until the end of the year. So it took quite a few months until I was back to the strength that I was before.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like quite a process. So you mentioned that you swim most days, either in the pool or in the ocean, even if you're not training. You mentioned ocean swims during quarantine. I mean, obviously, you've had a lot of success in the water, but if you're swimming just in the ocean, just for fun, what is it about that that's enjoyable to you, and what does that look like for you?
There's so many different ways to swim in the ocean. No, it's I honestly think that there's just not. I think anyone that lives close to the beach agrees with me. There's not a day that's so bad that just going and dunking yourself in the salt water afterwards won't fix it. I mean, I live just above Bondi Beach, so it's a great beach in many ways, because it's got very many different things, as in it's a pretty big wide bay, so you can start out quite deep and do a bit of free diving or a bit of snorkeling, and there's beautiful spearfishing off the back, like huge Atlantic salmon, and it's pretty amazing. Not Atlantic salmon, Australian salmon. Atlantic salmon on the other side. And like just amazing, like sea life there. There's a little octopus that lives there, and there's a seal that comes through. And one day I came out of the gym and looked out, and there was all these dolphins in the bay, so I quickly ran down and swam out, and you're swimming with the little dolphins, and there's all these babies, and it's just magic. Like one of my swims in quarantine, I was swimming along, there's a little turtle swimming, and it's so beautiful. So you've got that, but then it does, not all the time, but every now and again it does get some good waves coming in. There's normally some waves coming in, so you can always go play in the waves, bring your surfboard down, or body surf or whatever you want. Sometimes it's proper big surf, and sometimes it's flat exactly like a lake, and you can just swim out over the bay, and it's real still and it's just peaceful. So it's got a lot of different things going on for it. I love it.
No kidding. Jeez. I'm sold. I'll book my ticket as soon as possible. That sounds great. Man.
It's my favorite place.
I can see why swimming, why you have such a positive outlook on being in the water if you have a body of water like that. How long have you lived there?
I've been in Bondi for 2 years, a little bit longer. Yeah, my partners lived there for 5 or 6 years, and so I was going down. I was living in Brisbane, he was living in Sydney, so I was going down for sort of 2 years very frequently before that. Yeah.
Sounds nice. Sounds nice. Okay, so back to pool swimming. This was your third Olympics, and I'm guessing it was a pretty different experience, not only just because of you not having individuals, you hit on that, but obviously we were still in the pandemic. But what did you make of just the team makeup as a whole? I know I've talked to quite a few people about the training camp and how you kind of had to flee to Cairns to get to the training camp, but then it was a pretty unique situation of not really having family around, not really having a lot of other distractions. What stood out to you this year about the makeup of the team and how they were able to gel from your eyes?
Yeah, I think it was interesting because we didn't get to spend a lot of time together before coming together. Normally we'd see each other a lot more, and that was something I really missed during the pandemic, because we're very spread out, different states, no travel. So we hadn't spent a lot of time together in that year coming in, but then we really had this opportunity to gel together, and yeah, like you said, we're sort of forced into camp a bit early, and everyone was trying really hard to get there. And I mean, there were some people like the guys from Perth, say like Tamsin Cook and Breath Russell and Zach and Surdy. They'd been away from home since April because they'd come over to the East Coast since then. And so, like you said, everyone's away from their friends and family, and that gets very tiring. So we have to sort of become each other's family in a way, because those support networks weren't really available to everyone. And it really does feel like a big family. There's the little annoying little brother sort of vibe on some of the boys, and I sort of turn into the mum of the team sometimes and try to look after the girls. And I don't know, it's beautiful. The team really gels well together, and that's, I mean, something we've been working on for quite a number of years, both sort of informally, but then pretty explicit and pretty deliberate about it as part of the leadership group. It's something we really believe in as impacting not only people's performance, but in the end, someone's experience. That's really the goal, is trying to improve that experience on the team. And you never know where that's going to lead. Like someone brand new coming onto the team, if that experience is good, it's inspiring them to come back again. And you see people coming back for many years, whereas like we've actually seen in the past, people have bad experiences on their first team and then not really wanting to go back there. And that's a huge loss if you're losing out on that talent. And it's also not fair on that person who had a huge dream. So yeah, it's something I really believe in, and it's beautiful to see it come together. I mean, we saw beginnings of it in 2019 was probably a really good year for us as a team as well. So to see that carry through, even though we'd had some time apart, was really great.
That sounds really great. And again, I'm wondering what you felt like your role was from 2012 when you were, are you 27 right now?
Yeah.
So you were 18 and 12, and then 22. I mean, it seems like your roles would be pretty different from Olympics to Olympics. Was that your experience?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, in 2012, I turned 18 like 2 months before the games. I was just really young and learning things, and yeah, you you're just sort of taking it all in. It's all very big. And then 2016, I was coming in with a lot more pressure, a lot more events to swim, and that's sort of how you contribute to the team through your performances. And that's sort of where all my energy went, like very much channeled into myself and into trying to get those performances. But then post that, so I wasn't on leadership or anything in 2016, but 2017, I was joined onto the athlete leadership group. So there's 5 of us now. There was 6 of us at one point, but and then that's quite a deliberate step into being like, okay, I want to contribute to the team in a different way as well as performances. And so coming into it this time was obviously very, very different. Like I said, I had a lot more time for it without having the individual events, but there was a lot that went into it beforehand. So yeah, my role on the team and experience has been so different. I mean, it's beautiful when the young ones ask like about your other Olympic experiences, and you're sort of like, well, they were all so different that it's great to have that experience behind you, but at the end of the day, one doesn't really inform the other, because once every 4 years is a really big time gap, especially when you're a really young person, and you're going to feel really differently about everything and have grown up such a lot. Well, it's a short time, but you've grown up a lot in that short time.
I think it's funny that everyone's like, oh my gosh, we've only got 3 years until Paris, the Paris 2024 Olympics, which on one hand is like, wow, yeah, that's really soon. But on the other hand, it's like, that's a lifetime, right? To an athlete, you could be a completely different person, human athlete, it's like, it's still kind of a long time. And I think you hit on that of like, yeah, I'm not going to be the same no matter what, I don't think.
Yeah, agree. 3 years is ages. Everyone who's like, oh, it's only 3 years away. I'm like, okay, remember what happened when they postponed the Olympics 18 months ago, and you all were like, this is so long. It's double that. So just remember that bit. It is a funny comment. Lots of people are like, it's only 3 years away. Or maybe when you're 18, 3 years isn't that long, but when you're 27, 3 years is a long time.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's a long time. A lot can happen, right? Especially for an athletic career, for someone who's on the older end to be an athlete. How are you feeling about where you're at with swimming right now?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm not sure yet. That's something I was like, oh, I'll think about that during quarantine, and I haven't really come to a conclusion yet. I'll just see how I go. I mean, for me, I still love the sport. Really, I mean, we've talked about it. I really enjoy it. Just in general, I'm never not going to be a swimmer, I don't think. But I have been doing this. I mean, I qualified for my first team at 17, and now I'm 27, and I've been doing it for my whole adult life. And it doesn't really give you time to do anything else. And that's probably a big pull for me at the moment, is that opportunity to go outside the pool and just discover what else is out there and do other things. And you get to that point in your life where all your peers are in proper careers, or getting to do really different things from when you were first together when you were teenagers. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, having the time and the energy to I'll finish my uni degree at the end of this year, and then I've got some work stuff lined up, and whatever happens, like whatever I decide with swimming, either way, I'll make it fit around the other things that I want to do in my life for a little while, rather than my whole life revolving around swimming.
Yeah. What are the other things that you're interested in right now?
So I'm finishing my business degree. It's a business degree majoring in PR. So I'll be doing some consulting work, seeing how I like that. Looking at some sports management stuff, doing a bit of that. I don't 100% know, which is part of the urge to get out there and do something. It's hard to know what you like in the work landscape without having the opportunity to do it. I feel like your early 20s is normally quite an exploratory stage where you're figuring out like what that landscape looks like and how you fit into it. So I'm not in my early 20s anymore, but looking forward to channeling that 22-year-old energy. Maybe getting my coffee and my tea all sorted. All right, very good.
Coffee and tea?
I know. I'm a coffee drinker actually, but I've got this like nifty little teapot that is kind of fun, and like you pour from the bottom. Which got sent to me. I'm not actually really into tea, but I like the process of making that.
Yeah, that seems nice. I would probably use that too.
Yeah.
What I have to ask all Australians about coffee, because I've heard it's way superior over there. What's your preferred coffee? How into it do you get? Are you at Zach Stubbley Cook's level of portioning out the amount of beans that you hand grind and then sealing them? Or
look, I don't think anybody is on Zach Stubbley Cook's level when it comes to coffee and food. That boy, he's just, I mean, I wish I was sharing a balcony with him, because he's been making coffee for people in the morning, and that sounds just brilliant. But no, I mean, I like good coffee. I like my coffee. It's great. Might have a cappuccino or a little piccolo or a long black, depending on the day. Just go with what you feel. My genius stroke last year was to buy my boyfriend a coffee machine for Christmas, which is actually a present for me, because now he makes coffee every morning. So would recommend. And I got brownie points for it as well, which is great. So I get coffee every morning, and I'm the best girlfriend ever. So that was my stroke of genius last year. I was proud of that one.
That's a devious plan. Good on you. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Using my skills for good.
Okay, hold on. I have questions. You say a piccolo?
Oh yeah. What do you call that?
I don't know.
Like
What's a piccolo?
it's like an Americano, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Except no milk.
Right.
It's basically a shot of coffee.
Yeah, espresso with hot water.
With a little bit more. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I wish we called it a piccolo instead of an Americano. Is there a reason you call, like, because a piccolo is like a tiny flute, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not having a tiny flute for breakfast. I think piccolo just means small in Italian, and
okay.
Yeah, I think that's, I don't actually know why we call it that. I mean, in Australia we also have, you guys don't have flat whites, do you?
Well, I think at some places you can get flat white.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Because that started in Australia, because it's basically like a cappuccino, but without the froth. So it's like the same amount of milk, but you're getting the flat milk at the bottom. You're not getting the frothy milk at the top. And so, yeah, that was an Australian invention where they're like, oh, I want a cappuccino, but I want it flat. I don't want it like poofy. And that's where that one came from, which was pretty hilarious. That's flat white. I mean, I haven't been to America for a long time, but I did used to drink flat whites. I remember trying to order one, and they were like, "You want what?" And I was like, "Flat white." I don't feel like this is normal. I also don't want to be a coffee shop and be like, you're like, "Oh, your coffee's superior." I don't go around thinking our coffee's superior. I think it's just different. Like, obviously, the coffee cultures are very different in the two countries. American coffee is a lot more milkier. Not as much into the milky stuff, but that doesn't mean it's worse. I don't want to be like some sort of big old snob that's like, your coffee's worse because it's different.
Yeah, I am someone who's into less milky drinks too, which is why I like talking to Australians about coffee, because they always seem to be informed about the less milkier drinks. No judgment passed on American coffee. Also, you said a long black or a tall black, a long black?
Oh yeah, long black. I think that might be a tall black. You get like it's long black. I think might be often it's 2 shots. It's like yeah, and then it's just a black coffee basically with extra water in it. It's like a full cup of coffee with 1 shot, or if it's in like a 12-ounce one, 2 shots.
Like you have a cup of coffee and then you put a shot of espresso in it.
No, like you have your espresso shot and then you just fill up the rest with water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like a piccolo, but with more water.
Yes.
Got it.
No, it's a great coffee though. Have you heard of the Magic coffee?
The magic? No.
Magic
Do
coffee.
tell.
I'm gonna have to remember the exact portions. I mean, sometimes I'm that person that orders a 3/4 coffee because you don't want like a full one. You only want 3/4 of it.
Oh, I
But a magic
definitely do that.
coffee is, I think a magic coffee is 1.5 shots in a 3/4 cup. Don't ask. It's apparently the magic. I'm not going to get the ratios right. Sometimes I just ask for one. But it's supposed to be the perfect ratios of coffee shot to milk to water in a cup. I didn't decide that. That's a thing that we've decided as a society.
This amount of caffeine and lactate will get you to enlightenment. That's what I'm hearing.
Pretty much, yes. It's the coffee for enlightenment.
Nice. Magic coffee. I'm gonna have to put that one in my back pocket. Okay.
Be careful where you go and ask for a magic coffee. They might put something else in it.
That's a good point. I feel like in America I'd probably just get some weird looks, especially in Texas. They'd be like,
yeah, probably don't do that.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about coffee, which we did. I also wanted to this is the whole reason why I wanted to do this podcast. Obviously you're an amazing swimmer, you're a very storied sprinter, and I was excited to talk to you, but you wrote a poem that I think it was Cam McAvoy shared on his Instagram, and you read it to the Australian Olympic team, and I'm gonna link it in the description to this podcast if people are interested in it. But I read it and I like tears came to my eyes. It was very powerful, very impassioned. Can you tell me about the writing this poem and how you got? Were you just like, hey, I want to read this to the team, and the reactions it got? Because I just want to hear everything about it.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. That makes feel really good that I made you cry. I'm not sadistic at all. No, I mean I've been doing that since 2013. So I always write a lot and used to write a lot of poetry. I don't actually write that much anymore, but in 2013 I wrote something, and then at the end of the meet, my sister sort of forced me into reading it out. She actually went and showed it to the team manager and was like, oh, I think like the rest of the team should hear this. Anyway, so then I started writing one for the last meeting before we go into competition. So that last full team meeting before it all starts, So yeah, I've written one every year for the team since 2013. But yeah, this one was particularly special because it had been such a long time in between, and it was very funny because I got up to read it, and I said before I started reading it, I was like, oh, like I normally do this poem, blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, this might be my last. Like, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that, because then I started crying. And then like most of the team starts crying, because like, you know, when one person starts crying, it gets a bit contagious. So like most people are crying, and then I somehow got through the rest of the poem. But I mean, it's just a thing that I was doing anyway. Like I was always writing, and then to be able to share that with the team, it seems to resonate with some people. So I've always kept doing it.
That's cool. Did you get like a standing ovation? Was the I mean, if everyone's crying already, I mean, man, that sounds like such a bonding experience. I mean, what does it mean to you to be able to give something like that to the whole national team?
Yeah, it's I've never really thought about it in that way, but it is nice to, I mean, when I'm sitting down and writing it, I'm thinking about the team, and I'm thinking about what it means to me, and I'm thinking about what this meet means to them and how to put that in words. So it's always been a really nice thing for me to do, and it feels like my little gift to them. And then I mean, the whole world's embracing vulnerability at the moment, and how good that is for building something. So it's, well, like I did not plan on crying in front of everybody, in front of all my teammates. It was a nice moment, and got a lot of hugs after that, which I think everybody needs before a meet starts anyway. So yeah, it's always been something I've very deliberately sat down and thought about how to set the tone for it. So it's it's nice that I get to do that.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing your insight and your creative process. I appreciate it. And that was a really cool thing to see. It was, for me personally, it was just a great reminder that that people who swim fast are so three-dimensional and have so much else going on besides the fact that they can swim really fast. Which is, it's probably a good reminder for most people. So Bronte, just moving forward into these next few months, obviously, first things first, you get to go home soon. And then, if I'm not mistaken, you got drafted onto an ISL team. So what do the next few months look like for you in and out of the pool?
Yeah, drafted onto LA Current this year. So I'll be heading back to Sydney soon. It is going to be a little bit tricky because all the pools in Sydney are shut. So getting lane space will be quite difficult. But I mean, I've been doing this a very long time, and it comes back pretty quickly. So as long as I'm able to get in the water before I'm heading over, I think that second round is in Eindhoven. I'm not doing the first round of ISL. So those have to turn around pretty much as soon as they got home. So I'm looking to go for that November cluster, that second round. So yeah, that was just something to sort of keep me going and keep me in contact with the water while I'm figuring out what I'm doing long term. But I'm doing full-time university and finishing off my business degree. That's my goal, and that should be all done by the end of October. So I thought I was going to do lots of it in quarantine, and I have not done very much. Whoopsies. Oh well, I'll just have to work hard when I get home.
Nice. Well, that sounds like a busy schedule. Bronte, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat today. I'm glad the quarantine has gone well, and it's really great to get your perspective on a lot of things in and out of swimming. Any parting thoughts for our audience before we sign off today?
Oh, no parting thoughts. Just I hope everyone's doing well. I know it's been a really tough time. It's been weird, hasn't it? But kind of unifying that everyone's going through something. So everyone's been a bit more compassionate than normal, which I really like. It's not really a thought, but just hope everyone's doing all right.
You've been listening to the Swim Swam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take Swim Swam Podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.